It's fight night tomorrow, Nate. Oh my God. Let me tell you something. This card I'm definitely watching. Like this is gonna be one of the most toughest cards for me to predict this year, okay? But you know what? The main event and the co-main event are both rematches, okay? We got the rematch between Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. Look, Nate, let me tell you something. The first fight that these two guys had, there's one word to describe both these guys, and they're psychos. Like I could never go in there and literally endure the amount of punishment that they did that fight. That fight was ridiculous. It was absolutely insane. I think it was fight of the year. Like I don't even have the words to describe that fight. That fight was ridiculous. Personally, in my opinion, I thought Brandon Moreno won the first fight, but they put it as a draw. So I mean, the judges voted what they wanted to vote, so it ended up becoming a draw. And then the main event, Nate, we got Israel, the style bender, Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. Okay, the first time they fought, Nate, it was a split decision. So, and they gave the win to Israel Adesanya. Now, obviously, their paths have crossed again after about 3 years, and now they're fighting. And now Marvin Vettori is fighting for the belt. And here's a little fact for you, Nate. If Marvin Vettori ends up defeating Israel Adesanya, he will become the first ever Italian UFC champion. So that's some so again, that's kind of a big accomplishment that personally me, I'm Italian. Like that's something I would definitely like to see. But again, I do like Israel Adesanya. He is one of my favorite fighters. But you know what, Nate? Let's talk about it. Before we talk about it, let's come in for a second, okay? All right, we got to get a little warmed up here because this is going to be a good event. All right, UFC 263. It will be on Saturday at 10 p.m. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's
It's
time.
time.
I love that. I can't wait to hear that man tomorrow. You already know I'm gonna go on DraftKings. I'm gonna place my latest little bets in. But let's get to the predictions
Money.
first. All right, I'm gonna
Don't be fooled, guys. She's gonna lose money.
yeah, probably. I can't even deny it. All right. First of all, we'll start with Deiveson Figueiredo. I'm gonna read his individual stats first, or their individual stats first. Then I'm gonna read the rematch stats. So, Deiveson Figueiredo, he is an orthodox fighter. So his striking accuracy is 56%. His striking defense is 50%. His takedown accuracy is 50%. His takedown defense is 61%. So, I mean, when you really look at it, Nate, like overall, Deiveson Figueiredo has been a very good champion, you know. And Brandon Moreno, I mean, I think equally he's just as skilled, except for the part about striking accuracy. I will say that striking accuracy he's at 38%. His striking defense is at 59%, though. Takedown accuracy it's at 45%. Takedown defense is at 67%. So, and he's an orthodox fighter as well. Now, the first time they fought, Nate, this was a very, very good fight. The first time they fought, I'm going to read the stats real quick. So basically, when I look at this fight, when you look at the actual like total punches that were landed, Deiveson Figueiredo landed 137 out of 238, which is a percentage of 57%. And Brandon Moreno landed 132 out of 248, which is a percentage of 53%. Total, significant strikes. Get this, Nate. Okay, you want to hear what the significant strikes were? Exactly what I just read on the top. That's how crazy these dudes are. And first of all, I don't know if that's completely accurate because I seen them throwing jabs and everything like that, and jab is not a significant strike. But according to the UFC website, like it's the exact same stats. But let me tell you something, dude. They actually also there were also a few takedowns in this fight as well. Deiveson Figueiredo landed 2 out of 4, and Brandon Moreno landed 4 out of 8, and both of them had 50% takedown percentage. So when you really look at it, Nate, this fight was very, very close, you know? And personally, even though the stats kind of lean slightly towards slightly towards Figueiredo, I had Moreno winning only because I felt like did enough to win that fight. And not only that, Nate, but Deiveson Figueiredo, he ended up kicking him like down below, and they ended up taking a point away from him. So I feel like that point taken away from him could have also gave Moreno that win, but the judges ruled it a draw. Now, going to the Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori, I'm going to read their individual stats first, and then I'm going to read the rematch stats as well. So we'll start with Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori, his striking accuracy is 44%. His striking defense is 66%. His takedown accuracy is 53%. His takedown defense is 78%. So, and he is a southpaw fighter, so he's a lefty. So when I look at Marvin Vettori, man, he's a good wrestler. Marvin Vettori is a very, very good wrestler, and I think that's going to be a big key to Vettori winning this fight. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I'm saying that's going to be a big key. Now going to Israel Adesanya. Sorry, the page didn't load up that time. All right, here we go. So Israel Adesanya, his striking accuracy is 49%. His striking defense is 61%. His takedown accuracy is 0% because I don't think I ever seen Israel Adesanya attempt a takedown. I could be wrong. And his takedown defense is 82%. And we all know about Israel Adesanya. We know all the people he has beaten. I think Israel Adesanya is definitely going to be a future UFC Hall of Famer. But you know what, Nate? We're talking about these fights right here. I'll start off with Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. Let me tell you something about these two. That first fight, these two were psychos. Like these two were literally coming at each other with full force for 5 rounds. But you know what I noticed? I noticed something at the very, very end, and I wouldn't have noticed it unless Joe Rogan had pointed it out on commentary. Deiveson Figueiredo, he was throwing a lot of high kicks, and there was one that landed like clean, and there was some that didn't. Okay, obviously that's the way it works in a fight. Here's what I noticed though. In the 5th round, Moreno's arm, it looked like it was broken. That's what Joe Rogan pointed out. He said he kicked his arm. He kept attempting high kicks, Figueiredo, and because Moreno kept blocking him with his arm, it ended up becoming broken. And the first thing that I thought about when I saw that was Canelo Alvarez when he ended up defeating Smith. If you look at Smith's arm after that fight, it was like a balloon. Because what Canelo Alvarez did was he kept targeting that arm and swelling it up. When I looked at this fight, I say if we're going back to this, if they're gonna run this fight back, which they are gonna run this fight back tomorrow, I say Figueiredo throws more high kicks. Okay, you break that arm because he has enough power to break that arm because he did it. Break that arm, okay, and limit Moreno's striking because Moreno was a good boxer, man. And what I noticed about both of them is they're both fantastic. Like both of them are great strikers. Both of them are great wrestlers. But here's what I noticed: when they both have good jabs, but when Figueiredo was coming in, Moreno was able to counter, and he was able to land a lot of good strikes when Figueiredo was coming in on him. They both have good chins. So I'm going to be honest with you. There's a possibility because they hit so hard, somebody's going to get knocked out. But if they showed the same amount of chin power that they did last fight, I can't see somebody getting knocked out. I can't because they just fought like lions, man. But I'll say this, and I think what Figueiredo needs to do, I think he needs to kind of go for a little more head kicks. Even if Moreno blocks him, it doesn't matter. Those kicks on your arm are going to take a toll on you, and it showed in the 5th round against Moreno. Now, what Moreno I think needs to do, okay? I think because Figueiredo's jab was a very, very good jab. I think Moreno needs to be a little more aggressive, because in that fight, most of the fight, it looked like Figueiredo was kind of walking towards Moreno and Moreno was countering. I think if Moreno walks towards Figueiredo and forces him to throw something and counters, I think Moreno could have a good chance of winning this fight. And not only that, Nate, but towards like the 3rd round when Figueiredo didn't knock him out like within the first 2, because Figueiredo likes to stop people early. He ended up kind of swinging he kind of was swinging wild. And I feel like that's also something that Brandon Moreno could capitalize on. If you catch Figueiredo just swinging wild and he's not really hitting nothing, you counter on him, that's going to be big. So I think counterpunching is definitely going to be a big factor for Moreno. And I think for both of them too, I think one of them needs to excel in the wrestling. Because they both landed like half their takedowns. But the thing is, when they took him down, right, there wasn't really anything like they took him down and then the guy got right back up. When you take someone down, you need to keep them down, and I say if one of them could control the fight on the ground for the majority of the round, I feel like they could take over that round. I feel like takedowns are going to be crucial for both these fighters. I'm going to say this: whichever one's the better wrestler that day, tomorrow, I think it's probably going to be the winner, unless it ends in like a submission or a knockout or whatever the case might be. But I say for Brandon Moreno, it's counterpunching. Take advantage of your counter punches and be a little more aggressive. Bring the pace towards Figueiredo, opposed to waiting for Figueiredo to come at you. And for Figueiredo, excuse me, I'm sorry, my Spanish isn't that great, but for Figueiredo, what I want him to do is I want him to basically what I want Figueiredo to do is I just again keep that same aggressiveness that you had last time, but watch out for his counterpunching. And not only that, I know Figueiredo has the ability to tap someone out. Do that. Overall, I think these two are a match for each other. I think these two are definitely a competitive match for each other, and that's why the first fight was such a draw because it was so close to call. And I didn't get to see the first fight live, but let me tell you something, Nate. I'm watching this second fight live, and if this second fight is as good as the first fight, or even just okay, or anywhere near as good as the first fight, I think I'm in for a treat. All right, but you know what, Nate? With all the circumstances going on, I think we're going to have a new champion. Give me Brandon Moreno. I think we're going to have a new champion.
I'm gonna go with the defense. I'm gonna go with the champion, Mario.
I'm
I'm gonna go with Figueiredo.
I think
he's gonna win this fight. Yeah, and it's just like you said. As long as he can keep targeting that head with those high kicks. That last fight, Mario. That last fight was amazing. You know what I mean? Both were absolutely psychopaths, and I think what happened last fight is gonna happen this fight. Only this time, I think we're actually gonna have a clear win. You know
so
what
you
I
think
mean?
it's going to go to distance?
Yeah, it's definitely going to distance. I can
I
definitely
think
see
it
that
is
happening.
too. I think it is too. The way I think this is going to end, though, is I think it's going to be a close fight. I don't think it's going to be as close. I think Moreno is going to do just enough. I think he's going to do just enough to change the judge's mind. That's personally my opinion. But I mean, you probably think the same, except opposite for Figueiredo.
Yeah, right. So I got
Right.
Figueiredo winning by split decision. I think this is going to go to distance. It's going to be a really amazing fight to watch.
Right. And all right, so let's get to the next fight. But before I do, I forgot to read you the stats of the first fight between Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori. So this was a 3-round fight at the time because neither one Israel Adesanya at the time wasn't champion. But Israel Adesanya landed 57 out of 123 of his total strikes, which is a percentage of 46. And Marvin Vettori landed 46 out of 154, which is a percentage of 29. Marvin Vettori landed 2 out of 6 takedowns, which was a percentage of 33. And obviously, like the significant strikes, it says the same thing for the stats. So I'm just assuming that like they put the same thing for significant strikes. But overall, Nate, this was a good fight too. You wanna know what one weakness I found in Marvin Vettori's game the first fight? When he kept coming forward, Israel Adesanya is such a good striker, right? And when he kept coming forward, he was trying to come forward, and Izzy would just jab him. He'd get those punches in as he was coming forward. But again, what I see, here's the thing. I don't know if this is just because he moved up a weight class, but when he fought the last fight he had with Jan Blachowicz, power was absolutely amazing striking. And not only that, it seemed like his wrestling was really taking a toll on Izzy as well. Now, again, maybe I feel like if there is one weakness in Israel Adesanya's game, it is wrestling. Okay. And I feel like if you take him down, you could definitely control. That's what I feel like Vittori's going to have to do. Now, I'm not sure that I'm not sure. There's obviously a factor to it was that Jan Blachowicz was a lot heavier, which meant like the wrestling on Izzy was going to be a lot more hard to control than what it would have been with a middleweight, because a middleweight's 185 and a light heavyweight is 205. So that might have definitely been a factor. And plus, they're not too light heavyweights. Okay, these people are not 205 when they step into the ring. They're 205 at the weigh, and we got to remember that too. I feel like they're a lot heavier when they step into the actual cage. So going with this, I feel like Marvin Vettori should really take advantage of his wrestling. Any opening that you find, don't be afraid to like use it. Okay. Look, I understand Israel Adesanya is one of the most precise strikers that I have ever seen in the UFC. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. But here's what I will say, okay? If you're gonna be afraid of his striking, there are guys who went the distance. It's not gonna work. Okay. You cannot be afraid of Israel Adesanya's striking. Okay. As precise as it is, you can't be afraid of it. Marvin Vettori has to take the fight to Israel Adesanya. The best way he can do that is with wrestling. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, if you're gonna decide to go 5 rounds without taking a wrestling attempt, and you're just gonna try to outstrike Israel Adesanya, it's like putting a dare in headlights. It's like putting a shark out of water. It's not gonna work too well. Okay, he's gonna find himself in deep trouble if he tries to get into a striking match with Israel Adesanya. But here's what I will say: if 3 of those rounds, Vettori can land a takedown and control the fight on the ground, he could definitely become the new UFC middleweight champion, Nate. And he's a good wrestler, but then it's all about how much Israel Adesanya is going to give him, and the question that's going to be answered is, even though wrestling might be, if I had to pick a weakness in Israel Adesanya's game, it's probably wrestling. But was Jan Blachowicz just what did Jan Blachowicz control him wrestling wise because he was heavier, or did he control him wrestling wise because he found a weakness in Israel Adesanya's game? And that's the question that's going to be answered for me tomorrow. Now, Israel Adesanya, what does he need to do to win? It's as simple as this. He needs to be, again, like I just said, he needs to be precise with his striking. He needs to take advantage of his moments. Okay. Last fight, it wasn't the best fight for him. We get that. Okay. He moved into a different division. I got to give him a lot of credit for that, because not a lot of guys are willing to move up in weight and test themselves, but he did that. And I felt like that fight really did make him better. So I feel like Israel Adesanya, this is definitely going to be a bounce back fight for him. As much as I would like to see an Italian UFC champion, because there has never been one, obviously, because it always is a good thing when you see like a champion end up representing a whole country. Like, for instance, like when Conor McGregor won the UFC belt, that was probably a very, very big, huge. It was a big, huge moment for Ireland. When Zhang Wei Li won the belt, she became the first ever Chinese champion, UFC champion. That was a huge moment for China. So when you really look at it, every single time you see a first time champion from a certain country, it always is something big to see. And I mean, Marvin Vettori could definitely do that. At the end of the day, I think I'm gonna have it's gonna go the distance. I feel like it's either gonna go Israel Adesanya TKO, or it's gonna go Marvin Vettori unanimous decision. That's what I feel like is gonna happen. At the end of the day, look, man, I want to say Marvin Vettori, but I can't go up against Israel Adesanya. Okay, I went up against you once, Israel Adesanya. I rooted for you the first time, and you ended up losing. Don't count me out now, man. All right, give me Israel Adesanya. I'm gonna go probably TKO in the fourth or fifth round if it happens. That's what I will say. So for this fight, give me Israel Adesanya. I think we're gonna have a new UFC flyweight champion. I think we're gonna have the same UFC middleweight champion.
I think both champions are gonna retain Mario. I had Figueiredo winning last fight. I got Adesanya winning this fight, but I think this is gonna be a unanimous decision. I think this is gonna go to distance, and I think it's gonna come down to the judges. And like you mentioned, Israel Adesanya's wrestling isn't that great, but Vettori's is. You know what I mean? And that's a weakness that, like you said, Vettori can take to his advantage.
Right. Well, I'll say this: Israel Adesanya's got some good like wrestling to take down defense. But the thing is, my concern is when he gets to the ground, when somebody actually does take him down. It's like
Right.
Israel,
That's what I mean.
and he does his best. But the thing is, like with wrestlers, it's like I feel like that if there is one weakness in his game, because there is very few, it's definitely when he gets taken down.
Right. Absolutely. I feel like both fighters have weaknesses that both fighters are going to take absolute advantage of. You know what
Right.
I
It's
mean?
all
So
about
I
who
feel
takes.
like, and I feel like because of that, I don't think either one's going to get knocked out. I think it's going to go to distance, and it's just going to come
Right.
down to the
It's all
judges.
at the end of the day, it's all going to be about which fighter takes more advantages of those weaknesses. That's what it's going to be based on.
Right.
But but I mean, look, man, this is going to be a good event. And not only that, the fight before them, we got Nate Diaz returning. One of the most entertaining UFC fighters has ever been, going up against Leon Edwards, who was on an insane winning streak. I mean, last fight he was like he poked the dude in the eye. So really, technically, if you don't want to count that, fine. But we got Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz, and I think that's going to be a good fight as well. I think this whole card is going to be a good, entertaining card.
Absolutely. So with that being said, it's on tomorrow at 8 p.m., correct?
Tomorrow at 10 p.m.
10 p.m. All right, it's going to be at the Gila River Arena, which oddly enough, the first fight between Adesanya and Vettori was in that same exact arena, which is pretty ironic, Mario. But yeah, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be in the Gila River Arena in Arizona, so make sure you go check that out. It's on tomorrow. I can't wait for this card, and I can't wait to hear Mario complain to me that he lost more money than DraftKings. So with that being said, best of luck to all the fighters fighting tomorrow night. I can't wait for the card, and Mario, best of luck to you on DraftKings, and we'll see what happens on
Appreciate
Monday,
that.
Mario.